she does not speak for the African American community in Dolton. She speaks for her and her goons. We are not bound by color. We don't care for her because of the person she is, what she's doing, and the type of cold heart that she has.
Black people in government, and we looking crazy and this and that. And one of the things I want people to understand is that what makes black people look crazy as far as government, more than the residents, in my opinion. The residents, again, I don't hold residents to the same
You
level of
can't.
professionalism.
You
You just
can't.
can't. Residents are everyday people, and if their taxes
Absolutely.
go up or something is going wrong and there's a water main break, they come in there cursing and they don't give a
They
damn. And
don't
that's
give a
white
shit.
people. That's white
Right.
people too. We got a lot going on.
We
So
do.
a lot going on. So we're gonna jump right into it.
Yeah.
So before we get into the township business in Dalton,
Mhm.
a lot been going on. Obviously, the whole it all spawns from Tiffany Henyard and the people who are for her, not for her, and are mad about and have a lot of discontent about township business and Dalton business.
Yeah.
And we'll clarify again for people who don't know, because many people don't know the difference. They just know Tiffany Henyard and the
They
drama. But
don't.
before we get into that, we have recently Keith Price made some comments about you. And Keith
Hmm.
Price, just for people to understand who Keith Price is, I'll let you tell them. He's obviously a Tiffany Henyard supporter. One of the main supporters now. When you see Tiffany
Yeah.
Henyard, you see
Keith.
Keith Price,
You
and
hear
on the
him
other
too.
side, you see Michael Smith.
Yeah. You
Right.
see and hear them.
Yes. So if anybody was tapped into the news and you saw the township meeting when Napoleon called the caucus and Tiffany Henyard was not on the ballot,
Hmm.
that whole thing, the people mainly speaking out on the news during the press conferences were Michael Smith and Keith Price.
Absolutely.
Now, Keith Price, what is his exact position in relation to Tiffany Henyard?
So Tiffany hates to answer that question. But on the record, from what we see, he's the food pantry manager. So
Okay.
his title hasn't been adjusted. So he still is the food pantry manager, and that's what he get paid up under.
Okay.
However, she always says that he does what Keith Freeman used to do. So
And
for
just
the
for
township,
clarity, just for clarity, Viv, sorry. That position, is that a township position or is that a
yeah,
Dalton
it
position?
was a township. So Keith Freeman worked for the township as well as the village of Dolton in the same capacity. So he was like the village administrator
Right.
in Dolton, and he had the same type of role when he was in township. But
Let's talk about Keith Price. Now, Keith Price being the food and pantry manager for the township, does he have any position, political position in the city, in the village of Dalton?
no, he is not a Dalton resident. He is from Harvey. So
Got it.
she never was able to hire Keith Price into any positions in Dalton because number one, he's not qualified. Let's just be very honest. And then number two, the trustees would have had to, basically be okay with any hires that she did. So she didn't try and get him hired in.
Yeah. And he's not a resident of Dalton either.
He's definitely not a resident. He's
Okay.
from Harvey.
So just to set it up, so Keith Price is now, because if you look early on, for people who don't understand, if you look early on in Tiffany Henyard's controversies over the last two to 3 years,
Right.
typically you would see a gentleman named Keith Freeman next to her all
Absolutely.
the time. He was always lockstep with her,
Mm-hmm.
along with Andrew Holmes, right, and
Right.
Stan Bregman. But Keith Freeman, Dalton, uh, all those positions, you mentioned as far as what he had. But him being the right hand man, the point is he was
Right.
next to her.
He
Now, Keith
he was that.
Freeman, FBI got on him. They got on his ass pretty hard, and then you kind of didn't see him anymore because now
Mhm.
he's kind of cooperating and doing whatever he need to do. Now you see a
Absolutely.
gentleman named Keith Price. So when
Absolutely.
Keith Price spoke out at the last township meeting, the caucus that everybody saw, you started to see him more, and now he's kind of her one of her front
And
men
he's
with Michael
everywhere
Smith.
now.
You know what I
As
mean?
for he's always in front of the media. Let me say that.
Yes.
Every time Tiffany does a press conference, she has Keith Price, she has Michael Smith, she has Darlene Gray Everett, and whoever else that she always used Demarcus Quigley now too. He's the taller, dark skinned guy with the dreads. So if you
Okay.
see
Yeah.
him,
Yeah.
that's Demarcus Quigley.
That's
Um,
the whole crew on the press conference that we
Absolutely, and
saw.
plus Kamal Woods, her boyfriend is
Of
always
course.
well. He's starting to be out there now. He was invisible at first. He never
Right.
really spoke. So these are like these last few conferences, press conferences are the first time, and he's really been vocal.
Okay. Now, so let's get into this for a moment because obviously things are always getting heated, right? And Keith
Absolutely.
Price is her main supporter, as we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
You obviously don't support Tiffany Henyard, as many residents do not. So in the meetings, you say what you need to say. There, all the meetings, the township meetings, the Dolton board meetings, they all heated. It's not nothing new. So
Right.
recently, Keith Price said some things about you. He made a post about you, and a lot of people took issue with it. So I want to play the post, or not play the post. I want to show the post real quick,
Okay.
and we can talk about how you felt about it. And then he also went on a Jedediah Brown show recently, him and
Yeah.
Michael Smith, and Keith Price talked about. He clarified or tried to clarify what he meant by the post and how
Yes.
he felt about you. So I want to get your reaction. So
Okay.
let me go ahead and just share the post real quick here. So this is the post, right? So
On that picture on the bottom was my YouTube video that I did in response to what Kamal Woods did to Regina Waldrop because he says some threatening type of comments towards her, and she's a news anchor for Channel 5 News. And Kamal Woods basically is upset because Regina is black and reporting on Tiffany Henyard. Let me clarify this before you go
please,
into that.
yes.
As a black woman, we all are ashamed and embarrassed of Tiffany Henyard.
Hmm.
Let for the record, let me clarify that she does not speak for the African American community in Dolton. She speaks for her and her goons. We are not bound by color. We don't care for her because of the person she is, what she's doing, and the type of cold heart that she has. So let me just state that for the record because they always want to bring up color when all of us, this community is 90% black. So it sounds stupid and it sounds repetitive because you're bringing up a stereotype that doesn't even need to be mentioned. You're
Right.
bringing up our race when it's people of color that don't like her. It's not like it's a whole bunch of Caucasian people coming out and saying, "Oh, Tiffany this and Tiffany that." It's not a racial thing, and I'm
Right.
tired of them bringing race into this this fight because race has nothing to do with it. There is
Yeah.
no grown white men just trying to get after Tiffany and trying to pull her out of office. It's us black mothers. Let me say that. It's
Well,
us black
that's a great
mothers.
point. That's a great point because
It's not what they think. They're just trying to make it seem like something that it isn't because that's what they do, smoking mirrors. So I just wanted to clarify that Tiffany does not speak for all of the black mothers in our community, the wives, the grandmothers. No. She speaks for herself and her ignorance.
okay. So all right. So let's get into Keith Price. So Keith Price, obviously, you are one of the more vocal um,
Residents.
oppositions, residents. Going to the meetings,
Yeah,
and this is just par for the course because this is such a horrible situation for residents. So, you're
listen.
you're obviously vocal. So Keith
Yes.
Price made some comments, and even to go back to Kamal Woods, Tiffany Henyard's boyfriend or significant other, you know, the threatening against Regina Waldrop, the reporter, I did see about that as well, and it seems like
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany takes a lot of the criticism. She typically doesn't say anything back for the most part, but it seems like the people around her, you know better than I know, have been threatening and saying certain things. So, Keith Price, let's talk about what he said
Okay.
about you first, and then we could, kind of go into how you felt about it. So, the Facebook post says it's sad that people are addicted to views and likes to the point they'll say anything. You're sick because of your bitterness and wickedness.
Mm-hmm.
Your cancer will come back 10 times harder if you keep up such behavior. You've been warned. I know demons and spirits when I see them. She's a good rebel rouser that does not live in Thornton Township. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's the tagline Tiffany Henyard always says.
Absolutely.
So I want to you let me know, like, what was it that you felt about the post, and how did you feel about it initially?
All right. So, I felt like the post was unwarranted. It was evil, and he said something that I just would never allow him to take back. I'll never forget what he said. It hurt me to the core because most people don't know the trauma that I went through when I got sick. Most people don't know the things that I've done when I got sick. You understand what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
for you to say, I almost lost my life twice. For you to say that, and I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm a cousin. For you to say that to me, and I'm this kind of person to all of these people, is you wishing death on me and wishing that my life end, and I can't be that to nobody else. And for a person that's already almost lost their lives so many different times, that hurt. And the way you said it, especially because I thought of Keith as a friend at some point. Now, you could have called me ugly. You could have called me stupid. You could have called me uneducated. You could have just started just like, oh, I can't stand her. You know, you could say anything. But for you to attack something that I cannot control, for you to attack something that came back, that hurt because
Yeah.
you don't understand what I went through. You don't understand what I'm going through now. I live my life in pain day, every day. But I still get out there and I still do what I need to do. You know what gives me this strength that people hate? What I'm doing now, speaking out for my community.
And
And
you know what? Let me just add to for people who don't know. Now, and you had a brain tumor
yes,
that was
I'm an angioma.
eighty
Almost
percent of your
80% of
brain.
my brain. Yes. One of
So
the
it's
largest
it's it's a
tumors that they
miracle that
ever
we're even
took
talking
out.
right now.
Yes, one of the largest tumors that they've ever took out of someone's brain at Christ Hospital. My doctor was amazing, Dr. Farhart. He um, did an excellent job. You know, at first I was upset with the process because I'm like, how could I get two infections? But you know, reading up on it and understanding the way that brain surgeries work, it's always a possibility of that because of what I went through. My surgery was. I'm glad they was actually able to do it because some people wasn't able to get surgeries and they passed away and they had
Right.
smaller tumors than me. So
Yeah.
I was
Typically, brain surge or brain tumors are typically terminal, from what I
absolutely,
understand. You know.
absolutely. I've had a friend who auntie had surgery like a month after I had my surgery, and she didn't make it. I had
Yeah.
another friend that had brain surgery, and he's back to work. But it just depends on where do you have the surgery and what extent damage that the tumor has made.
Yeah.
And I don't like going around saying, oh, I have cancer because I don't. It's not in my blood. My tumor it still came back aggressive. It's the meningiomas come in three stages. Mine is aggressive two, almost to a three. So mine it still came back. So for him to say like I hope it come back 10 times worse, That's
Well,
evil.
well, I think, and I'm not defending him. I think what he's trying to say, and I'm going to play what he said on Jedediah's show
Okay.
too. I think his perspective is that, and I don't agree with it, but I think
Uh,
his perspective is that because of the way that you're expressing yourself and you're discontent of what's going on, that in and of itself breeds sickness.
no,
That breeds more sickness.
no,
And
that's not it.
we always, it's a known ideal, for people, most people, to say that cancer and sickness comes from bad energy. But to characterize you being upset about what's going on as just bringing bad energy, even if you're upset and someone doesn't like the way you're expressing it,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that is the type of energy that breeds sickness.
Thank
At the
you.
end of the day, in my opinion, it takes a lot to go to these meetings and to express and to fight, because there's a lot of people who aren't sick that aren't fighting,
Right.
that aren't,
And let me clarify one thing
so
about
please.
my tumor. I currently have a lawsuit right now that I've started for my tumor, and I pretty much know or think I know what caused my tumor, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So for him to even speak on it again and talk about it and say that my first off, I have never had so much energy until I started fighting for corruption.
Hmm.
So understand that my fight for my city is not bringing on my illness. It's making me stronger. That's what they don't like. They hate that every time I go to a meeting, I'm getting better and
Hmm.
better and better. And they want me to stop.
Hmm.
And they'll do and say anything to discourage me. And it's not working.
Well, you know what, let me play what he said on Jed's show,
Okay.
just so you can hear what he actually
And then
said.
I'll
And
give you my real reaction once you play that. And
for
I'll
sure,
tell you the real story. So go ahead.
for sure.
And I didn't listen to this. So it's going to be interesting.
That you've been accused as of lately. You've been all over social media because of your conversation with Vivian Allen, and basically it looked like you wished cancer upon her. And she came on, she spoke about it, she expressed that she was a friend. I mean, as a man, as a black man, with all the things you say, as somebody who says you're a good man,
So you did bring it
handle
up.
that. What is that?
Okay.
First of all, you a black man. Did you not attack Tiffany Henyard? I've known Vivian for a long time. I've called Vivian. I've actually wished her the best on the phone before, after I saw that she had the scar on her head. Uh, but Vivian has been dogging me out for over a year.
Oh,
I got daughters
not
that's
her illness.
22. Dad, why is Wu and friends with her daughter? It's only so much I'm gonna allow. I let her get away with it for the longest. She hadn't mentioned my name for a while. I thought she was like, okay, I'm not gonna mess with KP. But no, she wanted to go on and lie. If this was Maury, the lie detector would show that was a lie. She
What
got
was
on her live and said that she went to school with me and Napo, and we all went to school together. Napo about 45, 46. I'm 52. There's no way I was in school with them.
And I'll
I
fast
came
forward
back
through
from
this
the
in post
army
production,
back
but
to here.
That's
So there's no way. Uh the things that that woman has been lying about,
Key Price?
what
Let's
up?
have a conversation. So fact checkers are saying that she has emphatically said, she has actually said that she went to school and you were the security guard. She did properly say that that's how she knew you at the school.
She said that afterwards. When I came back from the army, while I was in barber college,
he said
I also
guard.
was doing security for Diamond Security at Thornton.
that was the crux of what he had to say. And I'm gonna say this, and I'll let you give your response.
Please.
Obviously, I think that one of the things that's disappointing, what exactly is the issue that he had with you? Because
So
dogging him out can mean a lot of different things.
I,
But
I would like for him to show me one time when I dogged him out. Have I called him fat? Absolutely. Have I talked about his political career and the corruption that he's doing for the township? Absolutely. One thing I'm gonna keep stressing, and this is what he don't like, is that he's not qualified to be the food pantry manager. I can guarantee you, Tiffany Henyard didn't do any background checks when she hired him. He got a significant amount of raise, just like all of her other cronies, and he's not
You
doing
said a significant amount of what?
raise. So
Oh, okay.
you know how raises are normally supposed to be structured. So when
Mm-hmm.
he started, that position was at like 60, but let's just say 65,000, and then she bumped him up. I think he make like 80 some thousand now. So it's like, how do you haven't even been in that position long enough to get an employee evaluation, let alone a raise bump like that. What are you doing for her to have her increase your pay? And then now, if he is supposed to be Keith Freeman's position, give him that title. But if he does what Keith Freeman was doing, the board would have to approve him. And
Right.
the board is questioning what he's doing, just like I question what he's doing. So you have to look at that. It's not just Vivian. It's
Right.
everybody questioning, what does Keith Price really do for the the township. He doesn't
For the
work for the
township.
village. What does he do for the township? Why is he getting these raises? Why did he have a credit card and can just go and purchase things?
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at. You get
Right.
mad because you say I'm dogging you out. No, I'm putting you on the spotlight. That's
Well, you know what? Also, Viv, there too, I just want to make a point that if you're going to be take a position in local government, state government, federal government,
right.
you're going to get criticized. And the
Absolutely.
best way to not be criticized is to provide clarity as to
Absolutely.
what you
And be
do.
transparent.
Yes. So I think that people, the listeners should understand that yes, people are gonna get criticism, and especially in the environment of the township in Dalton,
He's
you're gonna
working.
catch criticism.
He's working for the most corrupt mayor right now ever.
Literally, yeah.
And you are working inside of a township where, remember, the village, she lost her board. The
Mm-hmm.
village trustees had to get their own lawyer. Now Lori Lightfoot is investigating her through the village. But then
Right.
now in the township, I remember they lost their bank account in the village. Now in the
Right.
township, as of yesterday's meeting, you complaining about paying bills and all of this, but the trustees came to the meeting to pay the bills. And guess what she didn't do? Approve to pay the bills because they took out her literature. You know how she have um, pictures of herself on certain items and like the food
Mm-hmm.
boxes and all of that. They're not paying for that.
Yeah.
So they told her, no, we're not going to pay for that. But since you said that the bills need to be paid, we're here to pay the bills.
To
They
pay the
only
bill.
took out her printing materials. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And because
And
of that, she voted no. Her and Darlene Gray Everett voted no to pay the bills because she said if they're not going to pay all of the people, then they're not going to pay none of the people. So
people.
then you
Okay.
have her employees getting up there talking about, well, we need this. And the trustees are telling them, look, we didn't cut that out of the things that we were not going to pay. So everything that you guys are talking about and bringing up and stressing, they're going to pay. But what happens is Tiffany Henyard sitting there looking retarded because she knows that they voted yes to pay the stuff, but since she couldn't get her way and get her printers paid, she said no to everything.
To everything.
Yes.
Okay.
And then with
So
Keith Price, let me respond to that. And
yes.
so I always say with a lot of people, hey, we went to school together. My bad if I don't say, okay, he wasn't inside the hallways when I was inside of the hallways. You got to understand, I have two sisters that went to Thornton that was class of 1994.
Right.
I hung with my sisters and their class a lot. So I knew Keith Price from the neighborhood. I used to be
Yeah.
in Harvey all the time. So when
Sure.
I say we went to school, I don't have time to be like, okay, well, he was actually class. I don't even know when the fuck he
Right.
graduated. So I,
And
if
it
I,
doesn't even matter.
and it's purple pride. So I say that about anybody. It's so many people that I know that's on my Facebook page that I didn't know from school because we didn't go to school together, but I know that
Right.
they went to Thornton. So that
Yeah.
I say that about anybody we went to school together. Why do I have to be so? Oh well, then he wasn't in my hallway, so I'm sorry. No, we went to school together. That's what I say about everybody. That's not a lie.
Right.
You went to
Right.
Thornton. At some point, we go to picnics every year together. You
Yeah.
understand? So I'm cool with everybody once we get back together. All the alum, I met so many people over the years from going to Thornton picnic that I didn't know from Thornton, but I know they went to Thornton.
Right.
So they're my
And that's
friends
yeah.
now, and
Yeah.
they're
It's like
older, like way older, people from class
yeah.
of '80s. So
Yeah.
again, how is that a problem? Because I said we went to school, dude. You just mad because you have no platform to speak on when it comes to me dogging you out. You're lying. Show me where I dogged you out. I've never dogged you out. When I speak on Keith, I speak on facts. And that's what he don't like is that I speak on the facts of the situation. Show me a video
Mhm.
where I'm just going in on him. I don't even talk about people like that because I don't have the time. My
Yeah.
life is different now. So I don't even care about Keith Price. What I care about is the corruption that he's involved in.
Right. Right.
That's two totally different things. Have I called him fat? Yeah, because I get irritated with the fact that he would still allow her to steal from us, and that he would take taxpayers' money for a job he's not even qualified for. So do I
Hmm.
get mad about that? Absolutely. But
Hmm.
that's the truth. Tell him to be able to actually talk on those type of points.
Yeah.
But he won't do that. All he'll do is deflect.
Well, no, I mean, I think that again, that's a great point because again, if you're gonna take a position in local government, you're gonna get some type of pushback in this
Absolutely.
environment, especially. So at the end of the day, I think that
Absolutely.
I noticed when I watched the Jed's interview, I didn't see a lot of clarity as far as
You know why?
so for instance, I'm just gonna sidetrack for a minute. I watched a lot of what Michael Smith had to say as well.
Uh,
Now, me, I'll say, okay, I'm not on the ground, so I would say I'm somewhat objective, right? I'd
right.
say I'm pretty objective. Based on what I have saw so far, it does seem like there's been corruption. It does seem like the township and the village of Dalton is ran incorrectly, right? There's
Absolutely.
just so much there. But
Would you say
still,
that about Harvey too? Just from your observation, from
you
what
know
you know
what?
about Harvey, do you think Harvey is
You
corrupt?
know what it is? I don't know as much about Harvey. I've heard
Okay.
stuff.
I'm gonna send
I've
you
heard
some
stuff
stuff
over
on
the
Harvey.
years.
I'm gonna send you some stuff, and then I want you to make next time we talk. Just let me know if you think Harvey and Dalton is corrupt. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I love to dig into Harvey more. I
Yeah.
think I think I wouldn't
And the
doubt it.
only reason why I asked that is because he's so against Chris Clark. At least he was. He's
Hmm.
been a visual person that has been in front of everything that he can speak out against Chris Clark. He has been doing that. And
Hmm.
I just don't understand how you think that Chris Clark and Tiffany Henyard don't have the same type of dictatorship. That's my thing. So for you to call out Chris Clark and saying that he's closing down businesses, if you look at the downtown Dalton right now, it looks
Yeah,
so like just empty.
yeah, I've seen
It's empty.
video of it. It looks it's actually pretty
It's
sad.
it's depressing.
It's very depressing. Yeah.
And it's
Well,
like she does the same thing that Chris Clark does, but you get on that man back. But you for her, you think everything is okay. She
well,
Go
Viv, let
ahead.
me let me ask you a question about Keith Price. So maybe he was always around. So I didn't see him around and Michael Smith. Have they been next to her the whole time as far as township business,
Um,
or they just kind of came to the
so
forefront?
when she became township supervisor, so her and Michael Smith used to date. I know it's weird, but that's how they are friends. And
Okay.
Michael Smith, I think at some point was a trustee. He worked for Dixmoor. He was
Right.
and then he's running for trustee in Riverdale.
Yeah,
So
he did mention that.
he's always been trying to just do stuff in the political arena.
Sure.
And the thing about Michael Smith is he has a background too. That's what Tiffany deals in. Like she tries
Right.
to maneuver with people that will go to the next level for her if needed. if that makes
Right.
sense. So with Keith Price, he wasn't with Tiffany at first. That's the funny part. He was not with Tiffany, and it's something that is a mute point at this time because now he's with her now. But
Right.
he was against her, and he was against her supervisor seat. But then
Okay.
when he started, going around and I guess somebody might have introduced them. And then when she did that gas giveaway, that's when they became close, I believe, because he
Okay.
found out that she was doing stuff and that she could help him get to his next
Maybe there's
level.
something to gain there.
Absolutely, get to his next
Okay.
level.
Because I didn't see in the early on in the
No, he
news,
was not. He was
I
not.
wasn't seeing them around, and
No, it
now it's
wasn't.
like a new. It was like I said before. I would always see Keith Freeman
Yeah,
everywhere.
Keith
Stanley
Freeman was.
Brown.
Keith Freeman wouldn't let nobody around her because he didn't want to share what he was taking.
Right. Right.
So,
Because
mhm,
yeah, okay. So that's good because now when people do see that, I do want people to understand that who these gentlemen are, where they came
yeah.
from as far as being next to Tiffany Henyard.
Uh,
And I think the biggest point, and you mentioned it before, it's not so much about Keith Price or Michael Smith. I mean,
mhm.
there's a larger issue. The reason why you go and other residents are going to these meetings is not about them in particular. So again, I do think that
When
I
she
understand it.
go away, they go away, right?
Right.
The thing about those two is that they're fighting hard and risking their careers to help her get back into that supervisor seat because that's how they're getting paid.
Sure.
When she came to the meeting yesterday for the township, she didn't even have a security. Now, normally she have a security guard with her. The police was there. Don't get it wrong. Dolton
Hmm.
Police was in the township, but
Hmm.
her personal security guard that's normally with her, they inactivated him in the village of Dolton as a police officer. So I believe that's how he was getting paid, because he was on the payroll as a Dolton Police officer.
Wait, we're talking about who at this point?
Her personal security guard.
Oh, a personal. Okay, got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just to bring people up to speed. Obviously, you were at this meeting. I'm gonna play a clip from this meeting, the
Hmm.
last township meeting.
Okay.
Let me just play this real quick.
Oh, and let me just say one thing about Keith Price
Yes, please, please.
because
Hmm.
I want to let I'm gonna talk about it and I'm gonna let this go. Keith
Hmm.
Price meant what he said. He stood on it. When I went to that meeting, the first thing he said was that, well, your friend said you didn't have cancer, which I believe him 100% because the people that I hung around, they used to always say that I'm using my illness for sympathy. How am I using my illness for sympathy when you guys know what I went through? He then put up a post and said basically the only reason why I took in that meeting he said he was gonna repost it. He was like, I don't care what y'all think, I'm gonna repost it. Okay,
Yeah.
you standing on it. And then he put up another post that somebody had messaged me and basically said that the only reason why he took down that post was because his daughter told him to take it down. And now mind you, I have my daughter and his daughter, like I told you, was friends.
Hmm.
So I told my daughter, I showed her what he posted. And as my daughter, that kids go hard for their mama. So
Of course.
I told her, I can show you the text. I'm gonna text them to you. I told her, don't go and say nothing. I was like, God got this. I'm not worried about him and what he had to say. So my daughter still went and reached out to his daughter and talked to his daughter. When his
Hmm.
daughter came to him, because his daughter is the only child, I believe that is the reason why he took down the post. But he meant what he said, and that's why when I asked him when we went to that meeting, he was like, well, I was told that you didn't even have it, as if I'm faking what I had. But
Yeah.
he could never apologize to me because I've never dogged him out, so I don't need
Yeah.
his apology. All I'm waiting for is for him to lose his job, and I stand on that one. So
Yeah.
that's all I gotta say.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that, and I'm glad that people should understand the difference between, oh, I personally don't like this person
Hmm.
versus what they got going on,
Hmm.
what they're doing, because there's larger implications as far as tax dollars, the
Absolutely.
township,
And
what is going on
you're
with it.
getting
That's what the
paid
point
with
is.
our tax dollars. So
Sure,
we have every right to critique you and to
sure.
dog you if we feel like what you're doing is not for us.
Yes, and you know what? And that's why I think people had to understand that the best response, this is my opinion, the best response for him is just providing clarity as to what he do and
Absolutely.
justifying why you're there. Because I don't know any in America, I don't know any leader that isn't gonna look at what the president gets. Are they, the president, the
Listen,
governor, the mayor of, whatever it is, you're gonna
they're gonna
catch
get
people's
scrutiny. You,
you
if
gonna
you
catch
can't
people's
take
scrutiny,
scrutiny, you shouldn't be in that seat. And let me say
and it
one
won't
more.
come and it won't come in the way that you always
No,
like.
it's not always gonna come in flattery. Sorry, but that's not how it works. He he always been very rude and disrespectful to the trustees, as to where Carmen Carlisle has a lawsuit or a temporary restraining order on him. Now
Yeah, that's
that's
crazy.
another thing. Like, he is very violent, very violent, and like, I know Keith's background, and
Yeah,
you have it to where a trustee don't want to come to work because she's scared of him and his big
yeah,
bully ways. Carmen is
yeah,
like 5'3", 5'4".
yeah,
She's small and petite, and she's timid, and she's
yeah.
not the person that's going to argue with this big man.
Sure.
So of course she's going to try and do what she can to limit their interactions. You
Right.
see how he talked to Chris Gonzalez? He
Yeah.
talked to Chris Gonzalez, cussing at him and everything. How is anybody that works for a government organization allowed to cuss at trustees and not be reprimanded?
Yeah. Well,
Your supervisor is sitting right there, and you tell me that she doesn't care about anybody talking to her trustees any kind of way,
right.
and he's not being reprimanded. This man works for Harvey Public Library. He's on he's appointed on their board.
Hmm.
But from what I hear, that board is corrupt too. So it's like, it's not even worth trying to go up there and trying to ask them to let him go, because his wife is on that board out here as well. So,
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm not even going. I can focus my efforts on other things, and I'm still going to focus on making sure that Tiffany gets out of that seat. So I just
And,
wanted
and
to.
and like you said earlier, I mean, it's not like you're the only person. Obviously, there's much more than not that feel the same way.
Absolutely.
But I do think again, I think what people should take away from, I think, and from Jed's interview, and even what we're talking about, if you're gonna take that seat, you're gonna catch critique, and
Hello.
the best way to say it, look, this is what I do, this is what we're trying to do, and I'll even give Tiffany Henyard credit in a way. She does take most of the time. She takes everything that you all have to say, and she just takes it. She does respond,
That's
but for the most part, she's not. She
She
has to
takes
take
it
it.
because, yeah, she's very good at that. But you know, when our time is up, she always come back with her little digs. Don't
Oh, I know,
don't
I
don't
know,
get it twisted.
I know. But she's not online talking about people's cancer and
No,
people's
she's
personal
not.
stuff.
No, she's not
You
gonna
know what I'm
do
saying?
that.
Because
I,
I at least understand. I at least give her the credit that she know is par for the course.
and let
She
me
gonna
say
catch.
something. Keith,
You know.
when he I don't know if I sent you that text, but he said some disparaging comments about one of the people that started the fight with us.
Sure.
A guy named Jim, and he said, "You devils are funny. I don't eat pantry food. I had weight before coming there." He said, "Jimmy, you will be taken care of by God soon. Enjoy your little time left." 2 days later, that man passed away.
Mm,
2 days later, this was one of the people, the forefront people that actually helped with the fight of Dolton and
mm-hmm.
Tiffany Henyard's corruption.
Yeah.
And when he said, like, you always trying to wish bad on somebody. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, karma is a bitch. She is. And it's like that, I wasn't the first person. I'm probably not gonna be the last person. And
No, absolutely,
and
absolutely.
I know that that's how they do things. So I know how to strategize. I'm playing chess, not checkers. So
Well, you know what though, Viv? There's a This is what I say. I
mhm,
think when you're a whether you're elected or appointed position,
mhm,
you have a higher level of professionalism. You have to meet a higher level of professionalism than a resident, right?
mhm,
Residents
absolutely.
in my opinion. Residents can come, get pissed off, say all kind of crazy shit if they want to, because they're a resident. But
Absolutely.
if you know what I'm saying, if you're an elected official or appointed official, your professionalism is you just take it and
Absolutely.
you respond based on what you're supposed to be doing, and you address the concerns, and you just keep it moving. If you don't have a thick enough skin,
You shouldn't do it.
if they don't have thick enough skin to deal with the criticism from a situation where they should be getting a lot of scrutiny, then I don't know how they would be moving on to any further type of office
Let
going
me say
forward.
that it's because neither one, well, I know Tiffany not qualified for that seat, but Keith is definitely not qualified for public office because
Mm,
he can't take criticism. And
yeah,
you learn that just like working day to day in corporate America. If you can't
right.
work a regular job, when somebody comes up to you and cuss you out, even though you
Yeah,
know that they dead wrong, the customer is always right. So what
right.
do you do to make things right for that person? You have to have that type of mindset. That's what
Yeah,
Keith does not have. He
yeah,
always just, oh well, I don't care. I ain't doing nothing about, he have that type
yeah,
of mindset. But you always have to be able to get the customer to be satisfied at the end of the day, even if you can't do nothing for them. But you
yeah,
learn that just being qualified for certain positions, which he is not. That's why he
yeah,
doesn't have that type of skill set and that type of mindset to, let certain things go. I'm not at work,
yeah.
so I can say what I want to say. And now I
Right.
see that when I say stuff, it knocks you off your square. You're not built for that job.
Hmm. All right. Well, let's go to the clip. Let's go to this clip from the last board meeting, and then
Yep.
I wanted to pivot a little bit and talk about Dalton for a minute.
Oh,
But I want to just play this clip from the township real quick here.
gotcha.
They have no concept of what's going on here.
All right, your time is up.
Your time is up too.
Time is up. Thank you.
Yet another contentious meeting in Thornton Township today. Services remain shut down after fighting between township leaders led several insurance policies to lapse.
Supervisor Tiffany Henyard got into a shouting match with fellow trustees as each side blames the other for ongoing government dysfunction in the south suburbs.
The township still remains without insurance on several major policies after they lapsed earlier this month.
Hold on, let me speak. But you hold on, let me speak. You're not paying people. Let me speak. But you're not paying people, so I got a problem with that.
Insults flying at a tumultuous Thornton Township special board meeting Friday afternoon.
First and foremost, let me say this. She sounds dumb. There's no way that you're sitting here.
That's very professional. That's leadership.
Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard throwing most of the punches, some residents not hesitating to do the same.
This woman would not understand respect if Aretha Franklin came back from the grave and spelled it out to her.
In the long run, you have made me feel like an unhappy parent. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Henyard's motion to have all bills paid, including vendors, met with opposition by trustees Chris Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle. The self-proclaimed super mayor remains at odds with the pair who she claims have failed to do their jobs.
We need to move forward. You don't want to pay the vendors, cool. Next.
You do want to pay bills for having an amendment motion.
Right now, many township services in the government's main building remain closed. Henyard blames the lack of insurance coverage on crucial policies like auto and liability on Gonzalez and Carlisle for not showing at the meetings to vote. But they say that's not the case and they've never voted on an insurance policy before.
We don't have insurance because you two did not come and take care of your business.
And there are no insurance companies that are even willing to give us a quote.
At the meeting, the board approved insurance for several other policies like cyber and crime. With no auto insurance, questions flew about township buses that responded Thursday night, bringing people to a bingo night hosted by Henyard.
I think you're the problem.
I think you're the problem, trustee.
Meantime, other items, including an important tax levy vote, not getting the approval it needed.
Pass it the right way, pass a budget.
Henyard is calling for the removal of the two trustees and threatening to take them to court over their failure to show at meetings.
She calls a lot of special meetings that we're not always able to attend.
Meanwhile, Henyard maintains she's moving things in the right direction for the township, now left in limbo until further notice.
Before we get back to Dalton, which is one village, one town, 22,000 people. The biggest thing right now, what everybody's seeing in the news, is Thornton Township, 17 different municipalities, which make up one township. Tiffany Henyard currently is the supervisor of, and that's the caucus that happened that got her off the ballot for
Mm-hmm.
April, because there's going to be a new person in there at some point. Now,
Absolutely.
the static that she's getting from the trustees is obviously because they are trying to halt spending that they felt was not warranted and
Hmm.
spending that was off base, right?
Yeah,
So, and they're trying to avoid the same issues that Dalton had.
yeah, and also they're trying to block her from appointing the next trustee as a
Yes.
because she has the vote. But technically, her time limit is out. But we'll talk on that in a minute.
Yeah. Well, the time is ticking for her in the township, and she's
Period.
currently trying to get on the ballot through a lawsuit suing Napoleon and so on. But
At
um,
least she dropped it. I don't know if she started
it's just,
it back up again, but I know
okay,
that she had it was very weird, but she added Mayor Fitzgerald from the Dixmoor onto her
okay,
lawsuit. So when she added him on there, he didn't want to be part of any political backlash from
yeah,
supporting her. So he made a statement to 30 Fox 32 and told them that he didn't authorize her to put him on that lawsuit.
okay,
However, I'm just gonna be very blunt and say I find it funny that he's saying that he didn't authorize that. But Tiffany plays chess. She doesn't play checkers. So she's trying to always be one step ahead of people. So when she do get something on you, she can, show it to other people. So she
yeah,
did have an affidavit that he signed for her that she had notarized by her clerk that's trying to run on her ticket. So the clerk that notarized his statement notarized it with his name, but then that's what they used to file that lawsuit with. But
okay,
they didn't have his actual signature. So the signature that Max Solomon used, I believe, was something that either was written in or electronic, but he didn't authorize them to add his name to the lawsuit. So they had to drop that lawsuit that they had against them because I don't know if you remember, she was saying, I have a mayor that's on my side.
yeah,
Now, what I find funny is, and we're going to talk about corruption, is Dixmoor has their own corruption issues as well.
yeah,
And if you notice, now she's pulling everybody from Dixmoor. So she had the mayor, but he's probably just silently on her side. That's what I think.
yeah,
I think he's silently on her side. I think when Ronnie Burge went and ran for mayor, remember he ran against her. That was his
hmm,
police chief at some point. So
okay,
again, she's pulling these crooks from Dixmoor now. Like the next police chief that I hear she's trying to hire, I don't even remember his name, but he's another crooked one from Dixmoor. So
okay,
it's funny that she has ties to Dixmoor undercover and Harvey undercover. So
okay,
she's probably been paying them. I believe that she's been paying them. And there's some, everybody's pockets have been lying behind her being that supervisor.
right,
So
right.
I believe that she's just been paying people, but I also believe that her corruption is throughout a lot of these suburbs that we wouldn't even realize.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna before we pivot to Dalton. So I listened to Jed's interview
Hmm.
with Michael Smith and Keith Price.
Hmm.
Now, I do think that I read the comments, and I tried to get an understanding of what people felt. I do think it was a good idea objectively to interview these two people because obviously I wouldn't say that they're enemies, but Jed obviously is not for Tiffany Henyard either. So him interviewing the two of them, I think was interesting, but I think that what was missing was clarity
Substance.
as far as their defense for the person they stand for. So I say that to say that with Tiffany Henyard, one of the things that Michael said is that there's a lot of misconceptions, and there was a question asked whether all the allegations that's come out, do you think there's any truth to any of them? And he said no. So when you look at all that's going on, I think anyone who's supporting Tiffany Henyard, look, I don't think it's a problem for people to have opposite points of view.
Right.
But I think you got to be able to substantiate why you feel the way you feel. And even just coming from the outside, just
Mm-hmm.
looking at it objectively, right? The question is, why do you have the same problems in the township and the village, and why do you have budget issues? Are they all made up?
Hello.
Are they, it's just all an illusion
It
that
is.
people have? And if there is a misconception, and if there is some level of misunderstanding, please clarify what the misunderstanding is. And it's been unclear. I mean,
Very.
you know, from somebody who hasn't been at the meetings, I've watched a lot of the meetings, and I look for to try to understand. I say, okay, you see the residents who are mad, you see the trustees that are mad. Let me try to understand Tiffany Henyard and the people who support her. What is their defense? And the defense I've only seen so far is that it's vague. There's a misconception. They're trying to bring down a black woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they just
Jealousy.
hate it.
Yeah, with jealous.
Jealousy, and these things are too vague. These things are not something that's going to convince
Those
other
things are high
people.
school things. Let's just be
Yes,
very honest. That is
yeah,
high school things that they're bringing up because their mind is not mature enough to actually talk about the issues that we
yeah,
are addressing. So
right,
instead of them being able to talk about the issues that we are addressing, they are deflecting and just going off of their own views and what they see.
yeah,
What they don't like is that we continuously speak out against corruption. And
yeah,
what they don't want us to do is continually do that because we're putting them on public spotlight. And they want us to just continuously steal and peace. But we're
hmm
not going to allow that.
not going to happen.
It's not going to
Well,
happen.
let's pivot to Dalton. So there's so much still going on with Dalton. I wanna get your understanding of Cassandra Hobson Jordan. She is also running for mayor. Now, I was supposed to interview her, had it set up. I don't know what happened. She just disappeared. She
Yeah.
said she wanted to do it. We had a day set up. She didn't do it. I don't know her, so it's no diss to her, no diss. If she changed her mind, it's all good.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to understand who she is and where she kind of fits in the landscape. I know that. Now, here's what's weird. Let me ask you this, and then I'm gonna let you rock with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that your position was that she was a plant.
She is a plant.
And that's initially, honestly, that's how we got into the conversation. The
Mm-hmm.
last interview we did, she went and she commented and she did not like to be called a plant.
Absolutely.
So I said, okay, I thank you for your comment. I love to interview you to understand because I don't know her. I don't
Right.
know of her. And even outside of me, when I go and look at the Hannibals and all the other YouTubers who are talking about it, I don't know of them talking to her.
No.
So I know Jedediah interviewed her,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched his interview to understand anything about her because our interview was set to be 2 days after that. And like I said, when I went to confirm the day of, she just didn't respond. I
Mm-hmm.
have her cell number. I text her. I emailed her. No response. So at some point, she decided not to do it. But point being is that I wanted to understand, since I couldn't understand from her, I want to understand where does she fit in because you have Tiffany Henyard, you have Jason House. I think Jason House, to me, looks obviously to be the best person to be the mayor of Dalton
Absolutely.
based on how he's handled himself. And he's also provided clarity as far as the things he doesn't agree with. You
Absolutely.
know what I'm saying? I'm a very logical person, so I look for that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Cassandra Hobson Jordan, she didn't like being called a plant, but what I do want to understand from you is that apparently Tiffany Henyard was trying to keep her off the ticket, from what I understand.
Okay.
And I guess she fought to be on the ticket or whatever the
She
case is.
did.
So are they allies or not allies? Because
So
if
what
you're
they're
saying,
doing is
let me know.
they're playing a game, right? Tiffany had all of her henchmen, so Demarcus, Keith Price, and Michael Smith, objecting petitions. So Demarcus actually was the objector to Cassandra's ticket. He was objected
Okay.
to her trustee ticket, and he also objected the clerk, the current clerk, Jason's, Kiana's, Brittany, and he objected their petitions as well. So with Cassandra, her trustee, I don't know if you paid attention, is a guy named Dinasha. I don't know his last name, but he's the guy that said he come from the West Side. Now,
This is for her ticket.
for her ticket. So she had one trustee on her ticket. So with Danasha, if you pay attention, he just recently started coming to the meetings, because the first time he said he was running for trustee, he came and found me and was like, "Hey, I've been looking for you. I heard you you the bad one. Like, you always have something to say." Something, he was just saying a little stupid shit. So
Yeah.
I actually figured out who he was very early on when he started coming. And then all of a sudden, because he announced that he was running for trustee the first time he came to a meeting, all of a sudden she started coming out saying she was running for mayor. So they always try and act like they don't know Tiffany and Tiffany Goons, like when they're at the meetings, because they don't want it to be obvious that they know her and that they're cool with
Well,
her.
and just to pause you right there for a
Uh,
second, just for clarity, when about did she decide to run? Because that's why I was so interested, because to me, only people I saw was Hanyard and House,
right.
and I didn't see anybody else in
So
that mix, and all of a sudden she was there. So
she was thrown into the mix. I say about 8 meetings ago, about 7 or 8 meetings ago, she came out and said that she was running as supervisor.
okay,
I mean, as for mayor. And
okay,
same thing with Danasha. He said it first. So
okay,
he came out first and said that he was running for trustee. And then she came out like a meeting or two later after him and also voiced her opinion on that she's running for mayor. Now, the crazy thing about her is when she came to the trustees meeting that was at the Dolton Park District, when she came out and said she was running for mayor, she started attacking the trustees. Now, you know as well as anybody know that anything that's going on in the Village of Dolton, the day-to-day operations, the trustees are not doing that. You understand what I'm saying? So you have
yeah,
problems with water bills, anything else that concerns your taxes. That's not the trustees' job to actually, you know, respond to you on those issues. That's really Keith Freeman's job. So
right,
she went in on the trustees. Every time she comes to the meeting, she always say that they not doing what they supposed to do, but she
okay,
doesn't understand the trustee role. Now, the reason why I say she's a plant is
yeah.
because
That's what I wanted to ask you. Tell us why. Why is she a plant?
she is a plant because of the way that she just popped up. And all, if you notice, when they talk, all of them say they from the west side of Chicago, right? Not saying that all people from the west side is with Tiffany. However, when she came about and started talking, she never ever said anything disparaging about the mayor. Now, if you're running against Tiffany Henyard and that's your opponent, then why are you only mad and bashing the trustees when the trustees' job is just to balance the budget, to make sure that what is getting spent is the proper things that they approved, right?
Yes.
So she knows that. But I'll go a step further. When she added Danasha as her trustee, remember I told you he said he was running for trustee first, right? If you pay attention to the Thornton Township meetings, or even the meetings that we had at the Village of Dolton, he started popping up to every meeting. He started going to the township meetings. When he goes to the
Right.
township meetings, him and Tiffany Henyard walks out together. They're friends. They're friends.
Okay.
You may remember this resulted in Tiffany Henyard being denied a place on the ballot for re-election as township supervisor, something she's fighting, calling it illegal. But a Henyard ally used nearly identical reasoning to try to get one of the candidates running against Henyard in the Dolton mayoral race off the ballot, Cassandra Hobson Jordan.
It's about democracy and it's about hypocrisy.
I really think it's very hypocritical.
But that objection dropped in Village Hall today by the petitioner, an ally of Mayor Henyard's, to much less fanfare. Mayor Henyard not present.
I wasn't surprised.
Hobson Jordan now officially representing the Rebuilding Dolton Party. And this decision means you will be on the ballot in April.
And yes, it does. And may the best person win.
Hobson Jordan will be on the general election ballot here.
I am in this race. It's about the people. It's not about me, but it's about the people.
She will be up against whoever wins the Democratic nominee, current Mayor Henyard or current Dolton Village trustee Jason House.
Let me ask you. So I'm following this, but what I want to
Mm-hmm.
understand is why did Tiffany? Is it true that Tiffany tried to keep
She
Hobson
did.
Jordan off
Well,
the ticket?
technically, it wasn't Tiffany. It was Demarcus Quigley, right? Demarcus Quigley was the objector to their petitions. What Demarcus did was, at the last minute, he dropped his objections so that Cassandra could still run in the election and be on the ballot. So what Tiffany's trying to do is split the vote. So if she could split the vote, and but the thing about it is, Cassandra is going to have to be a runout for the primaries. So the February vote is going to be with Jason and Tiffany. So whoever wins that vote, then Cassandra will go up against that person in
She's going to
August.
run against them. Okay,
Yes.
got it. Got
Yeah.
it. Okay.
So that's Tiffany's last ditch effort to try and get still remain having some type of power in Dalton by getting
And
Cassandra in.
Is Cassandra affiliated with a political party? Is she
She's running, I think, as an independent.
as independent?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the reason why she was able to get her own trustees, her and Danasha. But
Okay.
if you pay attention to the meetings and if you pay attention to who they talk to while they're at the meetings, you know that they are with Tiffany and her team. Especially Danasha, it is because he gets out, he talks about he claps when Tiffany comes in.
Now
Like when we're at the
I gotta
township
play devil's
meetings.
advocate, Viv. I gotta play
Yes.
devil's advocate. So if you're saying that she's a plant, then are you saying that she really doesn't have any intention on being mayor for the most part?
Listen, when she did that interview with Jed, first off, she talked about what she do for work. She has like 3 jobs, and she talked about how busy she is and how much, how little time she have to even do normal things. She talks about how she works for Lurie's Children's Hospital, which I find that unbelievable. When it's on Jed's post, because I asked her questions about her interview, she puts radiation down. Another person that's trying to taunt me about my illness because I went through radiation. That's fine though. But the first thing she said when he asked her, "What would you do if you came in as mayor?" She said, "I would just give it to the state."
Right.
And then he said,
I did
"What on
watch
your
that too.
first
Yeah.
day? On your first day of duties, what would you do?" "I don't even drink. I would just take a shot." Who the what? You don't have a plan, ma'am.
Yeah.
You haven't said anything about Tiffany Henyard's leadership or what you're trying to change from Tiffany Henyard's leadership, because those are not your talking points, because you're really running because Tiffany Henyard asked you to.
Okay.
And but not only that, you talk about the residents and how you forced them to start their own block club and then how they left you out. Sounds like you a bully too. The things that she said to me when I even replied to her, mind you, I didn't even go in on this lady. I have common sense, so I'm just replying to what your interview is stating, and I'm just letting you know that you have no real focus points on actually being the manager, or not the manager, but the mayor of Dolton. How can you be the mayor of Dolton and you have no real vision? You have no real goals. It's not even about her being a plant. It's about you not being qualified and not being ready for that seat. You just start coming to the meetings. So if you don't have like a real dialogue with someone on what you want to do when you come in there, I'm just gonna give it to the state. No, give us a plan. What you gonna do until the state take it over? Like she
Well,
doesn't make
in
sense.
addition to that, Viv, I watched the interview with the
Mm-hmm.
same mindset. I wanted to know who she is and kind of understand because there's a lot of high stakes. You're not coming into a town that's already running smoothly. You're
Right.
coming into a town where it's almost like if you inherited a country who was
Bankrupt.
uh, bankrupt and into depression. You can't be the average president. You got to come in with some real, like we
With
about
some
to
real
dig ourselves.
plans.
You know what I'm saying? Dig ourselves out of this hole. So I want
Absolutely.
to understand. And I looked at the comments just as you did because I wanted to see, well,
Mm-hmm.
what are the residents saying? What are the people who are living there saying? How do they feel? And I would say, yeah, most of the comments were like, you don't have time to do this. You don't have a plan.
Hello.
There just wasn't a lot of enthusiasm about her. And that's why I said, like, I was supposed to interview her a couple days after to kind of understand because I felt like, okay, well, if it's another person in the mix, I'm just one platform of many. Let
Right.
me interview her, and I try to ask objective. My thing wasn't a gotcha type of thing. I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
ask objective questions because
Right.
at the end of the day, whether she interviews with Jed or whoever, it don't really matter. You gotta sell yourself so people can
Absolutely. To the
understand who you
people.
are.
To the
You know
people
what I'm
that are
saying?
going to vote for you, me.
Yeah.
Like your ideas and your thoughts on the Village of Dolton was not thought out at all. Like you had no goals for Dolton. All you want to do is just give Dolton to the city. Like or to the state. Like that makes no sense. You're not trying to come in and help at all. You got somebody that's a trustee. You ain't talking about what you and your trustee can do and what you want agenda items that you want to put on so you could change and make things better. You don't have none of that. All you talking about is I want to take a shot. Girl, go drink yourself somewhere
Well,
else. Don't need that.
the other thing that shocked me too is that I feel that Jason House is a strong candidate. So
Absolutely.
I said to myself, how is this person? I wanted to understand how, if she's in the race, obviously no one gets in the race to lose. They
Absolutely.
get in the race because they think they're going to win. So I said, well, let me try to understand how she's going to present herself. Well, how is she selling herself to beat Jason House or Tiffany Henyard, right?
Hmm.
So let's just say Jason House. Um, and I was kind of shocked that I didn't really see anything there. And again,
No substance.
I'm not saying she's
I'm
a
saying
plan.
it. I'm saying it. Vivian Allen is saying it. She has no real plan, no real goals, no real substance on what she's going to do as the mayor of the Village of Dolton. She is not
And
for
when
Dolton.
the comments came in from Jed's interview, you know, I would say her response were kind of like, well, you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I'm gonna do my best to run and do the best job I can do, which I thought was fine.
To be a mayor, you have to be confident, right? If you're not
Yeah,
confident about your abilities, you shouldn't even try and join that race because that's not for you because you're speaking for over 20,000 people in our community. So you have to be confident in your abilities and you have to actually be able to lead. And you actually have to have some type of plan set forth to tell the public about. We don't care about you starting a block club party for your neighborhood, especially when the people turned on you and started going out to lunch without you. It sounds like you wasn't even a good leader for your block. How are you gonna lead the whole village? You can't, because you had people turning on you, and you started the block club community. Like it doesn't make sense that you would say that you don't have real plans. You just want to give it to the state. I'm sure when she see this, she's probably gonna make plans now because she want to make sure that she doesn't sound unintelligent the next time she speak. But she really should, because if you're going to do that, you have to have the time, you have to have the capability, and you have to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you can't just say, well, I'm running, but
right,
I don't like the person, the leadership that's in there now, and I just want us to have a full new leadership. You only have one
right,
trustee, so you still gonna have trustees that you don't care for. You understand what I'm
yeah,
saying? And
yeah.
you still could not get votes. So again,
Yeah,
you
especially when you're dealing with a town that's already in trouble. You
hello.
definitely have to have a plan. And
Absolutely.
then the other thing too is I don't think people realize it. I'm not saying this is all the time, but in many cases, a mayor gets more scrutiny than even a president. Why I say
Absolutely.
that? I say that because the president, there are you have Congress, you have the Senate, you have so many. The
So
federal
many
government is a
government
huge government
layers.
body.
Yeah.
When you talk, yeah, you got layers, and there are a lot of things that the president, it's not their fault. It's not in their scope as
Right.
far as what they would deal with. So if it's something security, they're going to yield to the military and the Pentagon and
Right.
Secretary of State or
Department of Defense.
Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
But you talking about a town, the mayor, it's the mayor and the trustees, right? And from there, that's outside of that, you just have staff. So
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get that scrutiny immediately, and people want to know. Now, if everything going cool, and like I said, in a lot of times, certain towns they know who the mayor is, but they may not go to board meetings. It may not be no issues.
Right.
But Dalton is a different
We
type
a
of
different beast.
different beast. You
We
know what I'm
are
saying? So
entirely different beasts. And
yeah,
I'm so glad that we have showed the world really how corruption is going on in a lot of different communities, not just
yeah,
ours, because of Dalton, so many people have started Googling their public officials and looking up background checks and checking records, and they've been finding a lot of other stuff on their public officials that's running their
100%.
their cities. So Dalton have been a pioneer for a lot of different places that are now starting to, and I know you see it on the news now more and more,
Oh
the
yeah.
board meetings that are just going around. Like, that's because they're tired of being, like, being in
People
a
are turned up.
dictatorship. Yes.
People are turned up. Even
Yes.
looking at Chicago, greatest city,
Oh,
greatest city, Chicago. I mean, with Brandon Johnson. I mean,
it's so sad.
yeah, it's sad, but the residents are going in and
In.
they're aware. And the thing about where we're at now
Mm-hmm.
with the internet, the way things are, especially with podcasts, YouTubers, all
Hmm.
the whole stratosphere
Right.
of information, people are aware. And just bringing back to Miss Jordan, to say you're going to run as a mayor. And
Hmm.
again, like I said, I'm not tripping. I wanted to see more interviews. So I went to Google and try to see if there were other interviews outside of Jed's.
No,
I mean, there's nothing out there on
I've
her.
never seen
So
her interview besides with Jed. So
yeah, so
it
I'm
doesn't
I'm
have other
curious,
interviews.
and that's why I said I ain't calling
And
her a
the
player.
election is February and April. So, like, you should be out
Right.
there with interviews and talking about your platform and talking about what you're trying to do. But she probably don't have time for doing interviews because she has so much on her plate. You
Well,
have
you
to.
got to do it now. You
Thank
got to do
you.
it now because even if you just feel like I'm just a local, the world is different. Even if you're just a local politician now,
Mm-hmm.
and again, Dalton is a different beast. Now, we're
Absolutely.
talking about a town that's low key. Maybe you just speak to your little circle and you make your run. But
Mm-hmm.
Dalton is worldwide now. Everybody know about Dalton. So
Absolutely.
if you're gonna be coming after Tiffany Henyard and
Hmm.
taking over, people are expecting you to create miracles
Thank
and
you.
to have a team that's
You
ready to create miracles.
you have to be ready to strategize because you're going to come into a shit show. Like,
Yeah,
everything that has been going on in the village of Dolton is so manipulated and so messed up that whoever comes in there is going to have a task on their hand of
yeah,
trying to clean up what Tiffany has messed up,
yeah,
which is Clean House 2025. That was a
yeah,
good
yeah.
good segue. Now,
No,
stop.
listen, I like I said, I mean, I think Jason has everything going for him. He's already
Absolutely.
there. He understands the problems. He saw them as they came. He was on her ticket, and the thing that's respectful, and you said it too. Obviously, you helped with the ticket, but shout out to Regina Waldrop
Absolutely. I love it.
for the WGN interview.
It was
Not
amazing.
excuse me, the documentary you were on,
Yeah.
obviously, and I think people should take a look at that when you see legitimate legacy news station
Mm-hmm.
do a documentary and they talk to the residents. You were in there, Stan Lee was in there. You know,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't just nothing. It's not like this is just some conspiracy theory or just something small. This is something that there's enough material out there to put together a perspective, right? And let me pivot from Miss Jordan because it's not even so much about her, but I do think like if whoever's gonna run against Jason should have a vision and should have something going
They
on,
should
like
be
you
a
said.
strong candidate, and
Yes,
to be honest, whoever runs against Jason, they should have time to actually do the job. If you don't
they're
have
gonna need it.
time to do the job, then you shouldn't throw your name into the race because this task is going to be a really big task, even though it's a really small community. But it's
Yeah,
so much corruption that has been done in our community that it's going to take somebody level headed and somebody with a plan that already have been in the role as a trustee or, understands the mayor capacity to be able to do that job. Her coming in day one, you've never even worked for anything that's inside of Dolton. So, like, your leadership levels is already basic at minimum. So, like, you would have to be trained and learn everything. Like,
hmm,
you can't just come into a role if you never worked for that organization and just
hmm,
be ready to go. You still have to
yeah,
learn things before you're able to fully commit to actually solving problems. And that's the thing. It's like, no shade to her, but she is a plant But she's not ready for that role because this role is going to take somebody that's already been knee deep in it, that have already did the fight, to actually come in and help correct because they know what Tiffany's done wrong.
If someone calls you a plant, I think that that is again par for the course if you're going to run for office. You know,
Absolutely.
my response would be what my vision is, what my plan is, and to show people, again, it goes back to, I think that a lot of people who are, involved in city government don't have enough thick skin.
They
It
don't.
just seems that everybody's extremely,
They don't.
extremely sensitive, and you're not playing on the same field as a resident.
Yeah,
You're,
because
you're not the
you
same.
know how low she got. She actually said that she started talking about the jury that I make. So you've been on my Facebook page because I don't even talk about my jury that much, like on regular platforms. I don't go into what I do. But she gonna say, with all your dollar store cheap jewelry that you sell, like, why are you trying to take digs
Now
at me?
where was that?
She put it on Jazz post. I screenshotted him. I'll send them to you so you can see. But like
But see,
why are you talk?
you,
Why you went through my page? Like, for real? You went through my
see,
page.
look. You know what? Here's the thing. I'll play devil's advocate. We all human. Maybe that's a
Absolutely.
thought. Maybe that's a thought that you have, right? And you feeling that way, and you want to say it, but you don't really say it. You don't.
No.
You're not supposed to
But
say it.
once you post it, like, you're running for mayor and you're attacking a resident that votes
Right.
for you. I'm going to vote. So, but why are you talking about my jury? That's mediocre.
Your
Like,
job,
your
your
job
job
is
is to
to
convince
defend
people. Your
what
job is to
you're trying to
convince
do.
people that you're not a plant, and to convince
Absolutely.
people what you're gonna do. So,
But all of her responses, she sounds like Tiffany 2.0. So if people don't understand how much of a dictator Tiffany is, this lady, all she wants to do is just go and talk about you or say something demeaning to you instead of actually answering questions. That's how it tells her level of intelligence. Because when I was asking questions on Jed Live and I was responding to what she said, I was responding off of her interview. And instead of her saying, "Well, I do have a plan to do this, this, and that," you just have some slick shit to say, and that
well, you know what?
shows how mature you are. Because I'm
I'm gonna
very
make
immature
I'm gonna
too.
make a point here,
Go
and
ahead.
I'm glad you said that because one of the things that Michael Smith said. No, I'm sorry, actually, Keith Price mentioned it too, and this is just chatter that's been amongst people
Mm-hmm.
saying, well, black people in government, and we looking crazy, and this and that. And one of the things I want people to understand is that what makes black people look crazy as far as government, more than the residents, in my opinion. The residents, again, I don't hold residents to the same
You
level of
can't.
professionalism.
You
You just
can't.
can't. Residents are everyday people, and if their taxes
Absolutely.
go up or something is going wrong and there's a water main break, they come in there cursing and they don't give a
They
and
don't
that's
give a
white
shit.
people. That's white
Right.
people too.
Because
That's white people too.
that's how we know we get our way.
Of course, listen, in any if you go to any white town,
Mhm.
if there's problems, if the problems get worse enough, you'll see people go to hell off and be cursing and all that too.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say that residents are a different thing. But what makes black government look bad is exactly what we're talking about. You got to have thick skin. We are very emotional people.
We are very
Black people are very emotional people. And that's fine. That's just part of the characteristic. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm just saying in general that
mm-hmm.
we are emotional. Now, in government, when you're emotional, that's where the unprofessionalism comes into play.
Absolutely.
What happens with Tiffany Henyard, she's emotional. These other
So
gentlemen we're talking
emotional.
about, they don't know how to just take the criticism. One of the things, whether you like Barack Obama or not like him, Michelle Obama, one of the things about them,
They stay
they say
professional.
all kind of craziness all day, every day. But Barack, I'm sure they say different things at the crib. I'm sure they say things amongst their friends. But when they're in the public, they held a certain level of professionalism,
Absolutely.
which makes you look at them different. And that's
Absolutely.
why I'll just say this. That's why Jason House, to me, amongst everyone, he looked the best
Let me
because he sat there with grace, sat there, stood on his business, never raised his voice, never
mhm.
cursed nobody out. I don't know how he feel inside. It might be different, but he knows how to hold himself at professionalism. So when it comes
Absolutely.
to black government, black people can govern themselves, but the people who are trying to govern have to have thick skin,
Mm-hmm.
have to be able to take criticism,
Mm-hmm.
and to not take it personal because it's not
Absolutely.
about you personally.
No.
So I just wanted to say that.
It's funny you say that. Let me just add to that because their level of professionalism, the Obamas, was stellar, right? It was stellar because he never overreacted about anything that someone said, and he always articulated himself very well as a government official, correct?
Yep.
So, same thing with Jason. Jason doesn't let his emotions get the best of him. And even when he's at the meetings, even when she's saying little slick stuff to him, he, takes it in and he composes himself. Now, the thing about working for a man versus working for a female, and I'm gonna just say this because number one, I'm a resident. Number two, I'm retired. I don't give a care what nobody got to say. Working for Black women in leadership is the worst thing ever. I swear to God, any position that I've ever been in, and my boss was a Black woman, we had it out and I left that organization. I have never ever worked for a Black woman and it has been a good situation. Now, change that scenario, a white man or a Black man, I always excel in those positions because I come to work to do my job. Women come to work to gossip. I don't care what nobody say. I'm a different kind of person because I grew up around men, my cousins, boys, all like I grew up around mostly guys. I hang around a lot of guys as well as I hung around females. But if you ever know me, I talk to the guys better than I can talk to the females because they're always emotionally driven. Everything about them is emotions. And I have never been that type of a sensitive person. That's why I'm good with HR because my emotions are different from most women that are HR leaders, right? So I can do my job effectively and I'm okay with, even if you come in my office crying, you're not going to get me sympathetic because my job is to keep what okay, so this person did this and that. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, sir. I'll give you a time to, compose yourself. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm still writing you up because you did this, and you
Mm-hmm.
did that. You understand? When I
Mm-hmm.
do coaching, when I used to talk to my people, I'm able to keep my composure. Most women can't do that, and that's the reason why they fail in any capacity of leadership that they're in because their emotions take over instead of them being level headed and taking in the criticism. So that's just my.
Listen, Viv, you're cooking. You're cooking. When I say you're cooking, and you're cooking on a point that now I don't like to lay out stereotypes, but I do think this is something that's worth talking about and exploring a little bit too,
Mhm.
because when you were saying that, I have to be honest. My life experience has been the same. When I worked in corporate America,
Mhm.
when I was younger, when I worked in corporate America, when I worked, not all the time.
Mhm.
Now, the when I my first corporate job I worked, my manager was an older Black woman, so she
Okay.
was a little bit older. She was a little bit more like motherly,
Okay.
and I was pretty young because got a really corporate job at a bank when I was like 20.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And I was still going to college and everything too.
Right.
So, but anyway, she was more motherly. But maybe about a year or two later, I started working for another person, same company, but a
Mhm.
different manager.
Okay.
And she was a little bit more closer, not to my age, but I was in my 20s. She probably was in late 30s, mid
Okay.
30s. So, more in that younger vibe.
Right. She still had that
And
mindset.
my experience also is similar. And I know a lot of people are the same
Mhm.
because that is something that is true. I'm not going to be around the bush. That's something that's true amongst women.
It's
And so,
accurate
yeah.
in
And
every capacity of leadership roles that I have been in,
yeah.
and it's weird because we as Black females or Black women, we have a big voice, a big mission that we're trying
Yeah.
to do, but
Yeah.
we have people like Tiffany Henyard that sets us back so far.
Yes.
And it's bad because I understand sometimes why they would pass over me for someone else, because a lot of people always just look at us and stereotype us as the loud black woman that do this, even though that's not me. You understand what I'm
Right.
saying? But when, like,
No,
a lot of times when it comes to promotions and stuff like that, we always, us the black women, get passed over a lot of times because a lot of organizations just don't trust that most people are emotionally ready for certain positions.
well, let me say something there, and I'm so glad you're touching on this because this is such an important thing in
Mm-hmm.
regards to this. A lot of times, what I find what they use the black women for is to be more like the bulldog or the
Yep.
if they
The
need a
voice.
person to be a certain like bulldog and kind of bark on people, they will typically go for the person
Yep.
who's gonna deal with the managerial duties emotionally,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes that's what people want. Sometimes that's what higher management wants. And
Mm-hmm.
to your point about Tiffany Henyard, and I just want to stay on this for a minute because I want people to understand that's the crux of the problem with
Yep.
her, right? And the crux of and the crux of what she's introduced into politics for other black women.
Yep.
The imagery of black women is everything that you said, um, as far as being loud and being overly emotional. And
Yep.
that's what people expect sometimes. So what happens is that when you talk about in corporate America, sometimes that's what upper management wants. Sometimes that's what exactly what is needed for
Mm-hmm.
whatever purpose they want to do, right? And then when you go to government, when you go to a place where you're going to be criticized. Now, when you work in corporate America, the people who work under you ain't gonna come to you
No.
and tell you how they don't like how you doing the job. They're
Nope.
not gonna criticize you every day. You're gonna dictate to them
Yep.
most of the time, and they're gonna typically hold back whatever they feel.
Yep.
Now, when you go and you work in a public position and you're paid from tax dollars,
Yeah.
right?
That's a
You're
different
paid from
beast.
tax dollars. You might hear anything. You're gonna get criticism, reporters.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is gonna be on you, especially if things are going
Wrong.
obviously wrong, right? So
Absolutely.
I think that that's the biggest problem, and that's what I noticed when I first started looking at Tiffany Henyard. When you first start to look at Tiffany Henyard, the first thing you notice is that going back a couple of years, you notice that she's very defensive,
Very.
and she doesn't reply in a way with clarity. It's
No.
defensive. It's like, you know what I'm saying? And that just in and of itself makes you say, what's going on here? Because when she first got on my radar, that's what I look for. I'm a very logical person.
Thank you.
And anybody who's logical, the first thing you want to do before you rush into making a judgment and say, oh, this girl is or this woman is young and she's black, she obviously is loud, and no, let's go in. Let's see what she's talking about. Let's see the substance of how she
Mm-hmm.
replies and how she communicates with the trustees, and what is the substance about. It's just like a court case. If you see two lawyers
Right.
arguing a case and you're on the jury, you don't really know what happened. The lawyers have to articulate their case. And her case has been very emotional. So I don't want to go on and on. I just wanted to
No,
say that,
what you're absolutely right
you
though.
know,
She is an emotional being, and she's very vindictive. That's the thing about Tiffany, and that's what's scary about black women, women of color. We are known to be very vindictive because of our emotions, and we act out and we lash out, and that's like our biggest downfall. You understand what I'm saying? It's just like
yeah,
we let our emotions take over the best of us,
yeah,
and she has to learn to, well, she's not going to have another position in leadership, but if she was to go into any type of capacity role where she's working with the public, she would have to learn to keep her emotions in check. But she doesn't understand that because she hasn't been she hasn't really been reprimanded yet. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah,
It's coming.
yeah,
It's coming. But right now, Tiffany feels like she can do really whatever she wants to do, and nothing will happen because she feels like nothing has happened to her. Because really, in that supervisor position and in the mayor position, there's nobody really that can come and like write her up or, pull her out of
Sure.
office. The only thing
Sure.
we did was the recall. The recall didn't work. So the only logical thing we have is just to vote her out of that seat, because that's the only way we're going to get Henyard out of office. So, emotionally, we are all just fed up with what she's been doing, her corruption, her not being transparent, just all of the things that, the way she talked to the trustees, the way that she talked to the public. We're
Yeah.
sick of that. But at the end of the day, we know that Tiffany will never change, right? We know
But
that.
that immature emotions getting the best of me, what that actually is her actual downfall. And I'm glad you
It
bring that
is.
up, because I think that obviously it's the actions that come from it, right? As
Absolutely.
far as the way she spin. But if that characteristic in and of itself,
Mm-hmm.
that is actually her downfall.
And,
Just like in that clip from the news when they were showing her calling Carmen Carlisle dumb.
yes.
She
That's
sounds dumb. I mean,
First and foremost, let me say this. She sounds dumb.
it just isn't something that is supposed to come out of your mouth. And I think
no,
that,
no,
you
never.
know, what do you think about female leadership going forward? Because here's the thing. I'm gonna just say this. I have a daughter.
Uh-huh.
My daughter is still young. My
Right.
daughter is almost nearly 8.
Mm-hmm.
What we touched on this before, a few minutes ago, obviously, and one of the things I'm trying to make sure I teach her, and I have my son too. They're around the same age,
Right.
but one of the things I want to teach my daughter in particular is that controlling your emotions. I think
Yes.
I don't know why we do this with girls, especially with black girls. I don't know why we feel like we can't. We say women are more emotional. Of course, I
We
agree.
are.
As a man, women are more emotional, but it doesn't mean you can't control your emotions.
And keep
Because
them
if
in
you
check.
can't control your emotions, it's not. It's going to make it where it's not going to be conducive to you to be in certain positions and to do
Absolutely.
certain things. And people are going to look at you, for instance. And I'm not saying this isn't what happened in the presidential election. I think Donald Trump won because he was just appeared to be a better candidate, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that this is important for females to not look so emotional. You
Right.
can show emotion without being emotional about
Emotional.
everything that happens. And if that continues to happen, I feel like this imagery isn't good, because it makes it hard for black women to be mayors, to go further along
To
in
be president.
Senate and Congress, and eventually president. How do you put a black woman to be president when you have women that just look emotional? I'll give Kamala Harris her credit. She didn't look overly emotional
But
in
Kamala had
the,
no plan. Kamala
but she
was
had,
she had
yes.
no plan.
And
And
what she did that was emotional to
mhm.
me, what she did is they spent too much time saying, well, he does this and he does that and he's this and he's that, not saying I am this
I
and
will do
I am
this.
that
I'm
and
gonna
I
do
would do
this,
this and
this.
I would do
Yep.
that.
That
And
that's
that's
my
what
argument.
people are looking for. So I'm saying that to say that for little girls, your emotion is important, but your logic is important too.
Absolutely.
You know
You
what I'm
have to
saying?
be able to know when to cut certain things out. You cannot work in corporate America and just lash out at people because you feel like that's what you can do. A lot
Yeah.
of people that it's funny, that never really travels or never go anywhere, they don't understand the what professionalism mean, right?
Right.
And you have to remain professional in certain environments. It's just a must, because you don't know who you're around, and what their role is or what their goal is or anything. So you always need to remain professional in certain environments, especially if you want to move to the next level. You understand
Yes.
what I'm saying?
Yes.
When you're working with people, with the public, just in general, you always want to use that as a rule of thumb, because I can't always be the regular Vivian that I am all the time, because like I used to tell people, when I go to work, I be turned into an actor. When I put on my HR hat, that's who I am for today. I'm a different person. I'm not the person that might have went out last night and sung karaoke. You understand what
Right.
I'm saying? You're not
Yeah.
going to see that in my HR capacity. When I'm in my HR
Right.
capacity, I'm a whole different person. I stand on business. I make sure that I'm detailed, do everything I need to do throughout the day, and I communicate effectively with whoever needs to be communicated out to, and I do it in the right way. That's
Yes.
one thing that Tiffany Henyard, I know that she lacked, is because she never worked in a professional environment.
Right.
For her to be a supervisor, it's like a slap in the face to a lot of people that are way more qualified for that seat,
Yeah.
because she should have never been appointed as the supervisor. And even when what we was going through with Dolton, her Gonzalez should have saw that. I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
he should have saw that and knew that now maybe we should pick somebody else. But what was happening is it was the last hour,
Right.
and
And they had to choose.
they had
Yeah.
to choose a candidate,
Yeah.
but they already had put her in place. See,
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people don't know, is that Tiffany Henyard was already in place to
Right.
be the supervisor and to go in there and to rob
Hmm.
us of our money, because
Yeah.
that bank account was huge.
Yeah.
That it ain't have shit on Dolton bank account. So that was like her, oh my God, I got it. That's why she going so hard to try and keep it. But
To try to
even
keep it.
but even if she got on the ballot, she would not have won that election, because she would not have enough signatures or enough votes to get her back in that seat. Everybody
Well,
see what she's
well,
doing.
that's exactly it. And she's shown a level of unprofessionalism that I think is just sad. You know what I'm saying?
It's
And
very sad
you know, again,
and
the people
embarrassing. Like,
and embarrassing. Yeah,
it's
it
so
it it's
embarrassing.
pretty embarrassing. It's pretty embarrassing. And even the people who are saying, they're for her, and they think things are wrong and she's misunderstood, they haven't done a good job explaining. That's what I was
No.
looking for
You
from
you know why
Price
they
and
can't
Michael Smith.
explain, you can't explain a dictator, because you never
Yeah,
know what they're going to do.
right.
Tiffany Henyard, every time she does something, she has a story, because she can't do anything the right way. You know how they can't get right on life? That's her.
Right.
She just can't get
Right.
right when it comes to politics. And
Yeah.
so, with that being said, every time we look up, it's a different story on Tiffany Henyard and what Tiffany Henyard has done.
Yeah.
So until she gets her leadership in check, she messed it up for us black women for a long time now, because you're
She
bringing
definitely put
in
a stink out
you're
there.
making things racial. You're bringing racial divide within our community that is not even warranted or necessary, because you feel like, oh, I'm a black woman. No, because if I was in that position, I wouldn't have that type of scrutiny. You understand? If Jason
Yeah.
House was in that position,
I don't
he
think
wouldn't
people
have
are
that
buying that
scrutiny.
anyway.
Huh? No, nobody's buying it.
I don't think people are
But
buying the
people are
black
tired
woman
of her
issue.
using that. You
Nah,
understand what I'm saying?
that's not working.
It's
That's
not
not
working.
working because, again, like when you're even if you're just watching from outside and you're kind of catching and that's the thing. I don't think she understands what the visuals of what people are catching from her. And again, I think Michael Smith, I think Keith Price, I think all the other people who are supporters, I don't think they understand the optics of how things actually look.
They don't.
So
They don't.
and the optics matter.
It
Optics
matters
that I mean, facts
100%.
matter. Facts matter, of course, but optics matter. And if you're going to get the facts out, the facts have to be clear for people to
Absolutely. And
understand
transparent.
what it is. They have to be in transparent. Let me ask you about Lori Lightfoot. I mean, do you think she'll deliver the much needed information as far as
Yes. um
this investigation? Because
Yes.
I know they
She's
asked her for
wrapping up her
comments
report
recently.
now. It's
Okay.
funny you asked that. And I don't know if it's going to be a special meeting that she's going to call to give us the final findings. But I did speak with the trustees, and I do know that she is wrapping up what she have been doing, her investigation, and then
Okay.
she'll have a full, thorough investigation coming soon for the residents
Okay.
when it comes to Tiffany Henyard. And
Okay.
it's weird, because at the township meeting yesterday, they didn't pass a budget. She's trying to push a budget that to get passed, but she had a financial auditor that was supposed to do like a financial audit with the township, and they put out a statement, a press release, and basically said that due to the information that Robert Hunt, which is her CPA, the information that he provided, they cannot effectively do a financial audit because there's too many pieces missing. So
Yeah.
you see how that goes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're the CPA and you send your stuff to a company for an audit, you know what they need. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? You know what's needed. What you
Yeah.
did was you're trying to manipulate the numbers so you
Right. Of
can have
course.
a good audit and so you could
Of
pass
course.
it. But
Yeah.
you didn't even give them what they could use. And then when they did reach out to you and ask you for the information, apparently you didn't send it because they couldn't complete the audit.
Hmm.
So it's like they're playing games right now. Tiffany already knows that her time is up, especially when that
Yeah.
supervisor seat. So now
Days are numbered.
you just trying to hide and trying to manipulate as much as you can. Excuse me, as much as you can until you get out of that seat.
Till it's out.
And I can't wait for the next supervisor to get into that role.
Yeah.
Just
Do you
make
think
sure.
it could be Napoleon?
I hope so. I don't want anybody that has common sense to vote for Chris Clark. I think that enough people should know that his Harvey and corruption and what's going on over there, they should be able to see that. So
Okay.
Napoleon is running. I know that Nate Fields, he was kicked off the ballot because
Okay.
he didn't provide his I guess his paperwork in order.
Okay.
However, he is doing a challenge, so I think he has an opportunity to possibly get back on the ticket. He just have
Okay.
to do some challenges. So him, Napo, then they do have a Republican candidate that's running, as well as one other guy which nobody knows of. So
Okay.
and then of course
And is
Chris
Tiffany
Clark.
going to be a write-in, or is she going to still
No,
try to write in, or?
I believe she can't be a write-in due to she didn't submit the initial paperwork that she was supposed to send, and then she
Okay.
signed off in the caucus on the rules of the caucus. And one of the rules that they also put on the caucus was that if you are running for one seat, you have to choose which position you want to run and campaign for. So
Okay.
she running for mayor, and she was trying to run for the supervisor.
Supervisor.
So
Right.
the rules that they put on the caucus was that you have to either be the mayor or you have to be the supervisor. So you can't have
Got
both.
it.
And so
Can't have both.
she's pissed off about that because she's trying to say that people are trying to limit what she's doing. So it's
Hmm.
gonna be interesting. But I pray that um that Napo he do win and he can just get in there and curb the corruption. See, the thing
Yeah.
about Tiffany and her crew is they hate Napo, like they
Yeah.
despise him. and
I see. They
and
put his
it's
address
funny
on the news.
because it's funny because they all still part of the Democrats of Thornton Township.
Right.
You see what I'm so
DOTT. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like they're you, they're just mad because he stands on business with them.
Right.
And if you see, that's why I say men of color, good leaders, because a lot of them are not overly emotional. They stand
Yeah.
there, they listen, they take it. He does what he's supposed to do, and he does so much in the community. I've just like now seeing everything that he's doing, because remember I wasn't part of this political arena before this mayor stuff, right? So
Right.
now that I'm around more, I see the work that Dr. Nikita and Napo does for the community. Like even with their turkey giveaway, they had a turkey giveaway for Thanksgiving, and
Okay.
they gave out like over 400 turkeys. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Okay.
like they have things for seniors. They have events for kids. They do all type of stuff that
Hmm.
until now I wasn't focusing on.
Yeah.
So he
Well,
does just as much as she do.
we need definitely need level-headed leaders.
That's
You
why
know what I'm saying?
that's Napo times 10, because he doesn't even respond to her foolishness.
Yeah.
If you see throughout the media, like even Michael Smith and them, like when they're trying to go after him and give out his address or whatever they're trying to do,
Yeah.
he doesn't respond to foolishness because he's out doing the work of the people.
Yeah.
A
It's
lot of
certain things are just beneath you at a certain point,
absolutely,
and that's how it really should be.
absolutely.
If you're gonna be,
A real leader doesn't take time to just address people just because they want a platform and to be heard.
yes.
A real leader is showing what they're doing inside of their community.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And it's not a pick me. That's what Tiffany is, a pick me person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she just wants to be out, and everything she does is you're giving out charity, but then you're showing it every single
Yeah,
time. You understand what I'm saying?
it's everything's promotion about,
Absolutely.
me. It's
And
about me,
so
Yeah, I got you.
are you really trying to do that? Like the things that I do in the community, the things that I do for people, I have so many people that can vouch for the things that I have done. I don't put that on social media because I don't need that unwarranted attention. I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
things out of the kindness of my heart because I have a heart. So
100%.
when I do stuff, you'll never know about half of the things that I've done for people because I don't put that out there.
Right.
And it's just like with her, everything is going social media, social media, social media. And it's
Yeah.
like if you're feeding the hungry, why do you always have to put them on spotlight that they're getting food baskets from you? Maybe
Yeah.
I don't want everybody to know that I'm getting a food basket from you.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But
Right.
now I'm on your
Right.
social media and like it you don't have to do that if you're trying to help from the heart.
As a resident, like, what is your plan when all this is done?
As a resident, before 2 weeks ago, I was like, when it's done, I'm just gonna hide and go away. But now, since Keith Price put that message out about my illness, I have a not for profit, my tumor awareness, now, well, your favorite survivor tumor awareness,
Yeah.
and I
I'll
plan
make sure
on,
I put it in the link in the chat. I mean,
yeah,
not in the chat, but in the description.
okay, I plan on trying to start my business, well, not my business, but my not for profit up. I want to start talking to people about illnesses, tumors, how to make sure you're on it, making sure you're getting screened. The biggest thing about tumors is that most people don't understand like that they have one until it's too late, and then you have to be forced to have emergency surgery. A lot of times when you go to the hospital, they don't want to give you CAT scans or MRIs because they're expensive. PET scans, all of that. So
Yeah.
you'll never know unless they do their due diligence and actually do the proper tests to make sure that you're tumor cancer free.
Right.
So that's my goal, is to just start talking to people, start a movement. It's funny you say that because I talked to someone, and after the elections, because I don't want to make it seem like it's political, but after the elections I do want to do a panel to speak on different illnesses that people have that they can't control, because I
Okay.
think it's very important for the community to talk about things like that, because that's
Yeah.
something that really doesn't get addressed that often. And it's so many people with different type of illnesses, and you might not know the warning signs until it's too late. When I got diagnosed with diabetes in October, I remember, I don't know if I told you, but I lost like 50% of my vision from when I got my glasses until that point, if that makes
I didn't know
sense.
that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know
So
that.
but it's like I saw the warning signs of diabetes, and had I known what to look for, I could have went to the hospital earlier and actually have gotten my sugars under control. But just because I'm strong, I'm a very strong person. What most people don't
Mm-hmm.
understand is that I've been through so much that I can take it. You understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So God put me in this position to be able to take a lot, and I've dealt with a lot. But I do want to start, speaking out on, warning signs, like letting people know what to look for certain things. I meet so many people in the community, and they come up to me and they tell me about their family members. They tell me about their daughters, their wives, their
Mm-hmm.
cousins, that have been through the same type of things that I've been through. I have
Mm-hmm.
people all over the country that's part of my YouTube channel that, that talks about their family members that have had cancer, and it's just something that I really want to start speaking on more after this end, because I feel like it's something that helps people. Every time I'm out in the public, I promise you, people always come up to me, and ask me, about how I'm feeling, talk about my illness, just letting me know they praying for me. They'll speak on their
Yeah.
family members. And like I say, I just want to make sure that I can start talking to more people and, reaching out to more people and doing events like that, because I feel
Yeah.
like that's something that's needed. And if I can speak on what I went through, maybe it can help someone else detect what they might be feeling earlier
Yeah.
than later, because I hated that I had to go and have emergency surgery because I didn't know what was going on in my head, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So if I can prevent it, if people can see their warning signs earlier, then maybe
Hmm.
that'll help someone not have to go through as much as I did, and maybe they, can be better off. So
Yeah.
that's just my goal.
No, that's great. That's great. And I think that it kind of leads me into my last question. What do you say to people who, what do you say to people, kind of a twofold question. What do you say to people who feel like, oh, this person just wants attention? Because this whole Tiffany Henyard ecosystem, if you will, that's been created, right?
Hmm.
I think that I think there are people who just want attention, and
Hmm.
we are human beings. We want attention. We're
Right.
human beings, but I think there's people, and we've talked about this before. I think there's people who want this to go on forever, and
It
and and, and
is.
won't know what to do when it's over.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But
I'm so happy
I
it's
don't-
almost over.
yeah, I don't see you. I don't see you as someone who is just doing this just to go get attention. It just
No.
doesn't make sense.
Uh,
So what do you say to critics? I haven't seen a lot of critics, but I'm just saying, what do you think of critics who say you're just up here because you want attention and you're being messy and
Well,
all this stuff?
they're absolutely right. I do want attention. I'm glad that we drew attention to corruption. So the critics, they're absolutely right. I want to be the face of drawing criticism to corruption in any place that I'm living. So do I do this for attention? It worked, right?
Yeah,
Let's just be
I love
honest.
I
It
love
worked.
I
It
love the way you
worked.
I love the way you answered that. You know what I'm saying? I would have thought you would have said something else, but you say, hell yeah, I want the attention. But here's
Absolutely.
why. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Because what we did was we helped the nation see, a few residents helped the nation to see the type of corruption and ill leadership that we was dealing with. Now, let me say this. It wasn't
Yes.
just me that wanted
I was
the
gonna
attention.
ask you. I
It
was
wasn't
literally
just
about to ask
me.
you who are the original
The one, so the
pioneers.
original findings, and I'm looking at my list because I don't want to leave nobody out. So we
Hmm.
start with Miss Sherry Hatcher Britton. Brighton. I'm sorry. She was the first person. Now, mind you, I met her. I told you I met her through Jason, and Jason added me to a group that they had that
Hmm.
they were fighting alongside with me on actual corruption. But
Hmm.
Sherry is like one of the first people that started sending out information to different leadership, different levels of government. She was the first person that I saw that did that
Okay.
and got
Okay.
responses,
Yeah.
because it took us a long time to get to where we at now, right? Where it's covered
Yeah.
every day, right?
Right.
Every day
Right.
somebody, if you put Tiffany Henyard in your title, you gonna get views just because of that name, right?
Yep.
So when she
Yep.
say that people should give her money for a name, well, unfortunately you're a government official, so you don't deserve to get paid because you're doing
Yeah.
that in your government capacity. However,
Yeah.
for YouTubers, thank you, because they get paid handsomely off of your name. Now, outside of Sherry, then Miss
Valerie
Valerie
Stubbs.
Stubbs, we have
Hmm.
Mr. Dan Lee. Then
Dan
we
Lee.
have yep, Miss Thelma. She's one of the ones that's been fighting, and she's a breast cancer survivor as well. So
Hmm.
outside of her, we had some YouTubers that really covered the content in the correct way without
Hmm.
being messy. So
Hmm.
I that's my thing, is it's about how you cover a story, right? So
Yeah.
for some of the YouTubers, we have Pink Book Lessons.
Hmm.
I don't know if you ever watch her, but her commentary,
Shout out to her for sure. Yeah.
she is always awesome. We have
Yeah.
Hannibal.
Hannibal.
Hannibal is hungry.
Yeah.
I actually did an interview with him too, and it's funny because now I think I need to do another one because that interview I did, oh my god, it was right when I was about to start my radiation.
Okay.
So I was like on a lot of anti-anxiety meds. So I was just like really like, well, I was in a rocking chair too, but it was like a really weird interview. But it covered the topics that needed to be covered, but people were
Yeah.
more focused on me rocking in a rocking chair than what I was saying, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Right.
Seriously, people find a way to
No, I
complain
know.
about
Listen,
anything.
if the optics look a certain way, people gonna be like, "Yo, what kind of hat she got on? What kind of
Absolutely,
room
and
is
and
that?
that's
What's
what
that in
they
the
focus
background?"
in on.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
So I
So then
got you.
we have Miss Shawani Burns. She is one of the ones that was providing great content
Yeah.
towards Dalton,
Shout out to her
um,
too.
and that was like when we first started. Because remember, I told you we've been fighting since basically like June when she first got into office,
Mm-hmm.
because that's when she started overspending.
2021.
Yes, sir. And then
Mm,
we have Mr. Jim Giglio. That's the one who Keith Price wished death on, and then the man passed away two days later.
mm-hmm.
So he was one of the pioneers that helped us in this fight as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've been fighting for years against it. Since she's been in office. We've been fighting.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
been double fighting since she's been in that supervisor position.
Yeah.
Because we didn't understand how can you put her in that role when you know what's going on in Dalton.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just that we residents are fed up, we're tired, and me myself, after this is done, I like I said, I have my next goal, my next purpose. But I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that between me and all of the residents that we just want this to end with her in prison. That's
Yeah.
what we are looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
And voting her out. Like voting her out is going to be a joy,
Yeah.
but it's not going to be the end game.
Yeah.
The end game is for us to see through those subpoenas, make sure those indictments come down, make sure she is charged accordingly. That's what
You
our
know,
goal is.
and that's so great to to kind of to cap it off with it, and just to add on, justice moves slow,
It does.
but it does move. And
It does.
I think all the stuff that's all the things that are coming, and and the investigations and the information that's out there,
Mm-hmm.
it will eventually catch up to her.
Absolutely.
And again, shout out to you, shout out to all pioneers, because it's not a easy, I'm sure it was not a easy, it hasn't been an easy
Never.
fight. And you know it's something that is something you guys don't want to go, no one wants to go through that,
Nobody wants to
again.
go through
So
nobody wants to go through, disrespect. Nobody wants
yeah.
to go through being irritated. Nobody wants to go to a mayor that's just calling all the residents haters, or calling people haters, calling people stupid, calling people out of their names. She should never be in that seat. And it's messed up that, there's no real protocol. Once a person is in place as a mayor, you can't really just take them out of that seat.
Yeah,
You
you really
can't,
can't.
you're really stuck with that person. Like we learned the hard way for
Yeah.
their term.
This is the most extreme, and again, it's always a lesson. The lesson is really to make sure, do
That
your
you vet.
homework, vet and do your homework on, and
Listen, and like I
don't
said, if
don't
you don't know who that person is when you in that voting booth, skip it.
yeah,
You can abstain from selecting an applicant. It's better than you putting a mark down for somebody that is not qualified.
Viv, favorite survivor, you are
Yes,
awesome. I appreciate you. um and we'll do it again like we always do.
absolutely.
And
Oh, you like
yeah.
my ugly sweater? I had to put it on.
You rocking it, you rocking it.
That's what
I've been
took me
peeping
so
it the
long.
whole time. So, Merry Christmas to you, happy
Merry Christmas to you
holidays.
too, and happy holidays, and thank
you know
you.